Welcome back to Fast Market here on the Schwab Network. It's time for cash tags. For that, let's bring in Landon Swan. He's a co-founder at Likefolio. Welcome back to the show, Landon.
Thank you. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Boeing doing okay today, and it seems like even with this criminal charge, Landon, this is almost like, hey, we're sticking it out there. We've got the fine paid. We're doing all the stuff to make our planes safer. But are you still seeing any data that's kind of doubting it? We were talking during the break, Kevin and I, that, are people getting on social media and saying, I refuse to, I'm checking what type of plane I'm flying when I'm booking a flight. Do you see that?
Yeah, so, just kind of putting this out there, we don't officially cover Boeing, right?
Okay.
But we pull a lot of mentions, especially around all this, just to see what's going on. And yes, people actually do say that kind of thing. They talk about United, they talk about Southwest. Is it a 737 MAX? It's kind of like, if they have a choice, they'll pick the plane, or they'll pick the airline that doesn't have them on a 737 MAX, but they'll still maybe go reluctantly if that's the only one that they can get on. So it's definitely on the minds of consumers, definitely on there. And this goes back quite a ways. I mean, we're talking, in 2018 and 2019, they had a couple of crashes. About 350 people died. Then they grounded all of the 737 Maxes. The CEO resigned or was removed, and they resumed production in 2020 of December. And now we've got that, in January of this year, that I guess that cabin, it wasn't a door, but that panel blew out on an Alaska Airlines flight, and investigations. Now we've got this settlement. It just seems like, a lot of trouble for this company. CEO said he's stepping down at the end of the year. And yeah, frankly, I think this fine is pretty small. I mean, you're talking about $244 million. It's not that much money. They are committing to spend about $450 million to improve their safety and compliance. It's a lot less than what the crash victims want. I think there was talk of like $25 billion. So obviously, investors are happy with today's numbers. But, I think a lot of people are just concerned, like, you can go through all the stats, and obviously flying is safer than driving on, per mile, but still, you don't want to be on the plane where they're skipping over things and they're doing things the wrong way, and it's maybe not a safe plane. So people are definitely concerned. And there is talk on social media, like, which people talk, I've seen mentions about people saying, which airlines have 737 Maxes, and then, okay, it's United, Southwest. All right, so I'm good on Delta. Like those kind of conversations are happening out there. So it's definitely going to be a slight negative, I think, for United, Southwest, definitely a positive for Delta and others who don't carry these. But as an investor, I mean, it's tough. You guys know me. I'm not like a big ESG guy. I don't like to invest based on how good the company is. I want to know if they make money, but you're pushing my limits here when you talk about skipping safety regulations and getting completing guilty to conspiracy on safety stuff on an airline. I'm out on that. So this is tough. I mean, we're definitely seeing with the consumer, but investors that are just all about the money, I think that you could take this news today as good news, which is wild, but yeah, it is good news for investors today.
Yeah, Landon, I think today's trade in Boeing, or today's trading, is uncertainty versus certainty, right? All the uncertainty that was around this court case is now gone, and it's turned into more certainty. And that's why I think the stock is rallied. Now, the stock is coming back down here. It's up less than $1 after being up $5 on the day. But, Landon, I think the bigger thing is, if you agree, there's got to be, I think the negotiations on this were big, because if you plead guilty to a felony, you can't do business with the government anymore. They're a massive defense contractor. So there's got to be some waiver or some side deal going on where they can still provide. They provide Air Force One.
Yeah.
How can they do that if this excludes them from having a government contract? I think there's some mea culpas going on here to get this over with.
Yeah, there's got to be, the devil's in the details, right? And, there's got to be some stuff going on that is sweet for them. And I'm sure there's a lot of people making money on the side here. And don't get me started. Let's have some drinks and we can go on hours about this. But yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, it's, you got to think about the investors and you got to think about the consumers. Investors are saying, all right, this looks pretty good. The fine's not nearly as big as we were potentially worried about. Everything's good now. There's the uncertainty's gone. And the consumer, I mean, you can just see here, this is people talking or asking the question, Googling, is Boeing safe, right? And it's not just 737 MAX. That might be the focus of the safety concerns, but Boeing makes that. So in the consumer's mind, is Boeing safe is the key term. That's what people are asking. It's impacting anybody any plane that Boeing makes in the consumer's mind and any airline that buys from Boeing. So I think over time, if there's no more issues, no more crashes, no more wild things happening up in the skies, then probably people will slowly forget about this. But if that's not the case, then this could you could see consumers, especially who are really a little bit more cautious, saying, you know what, I'm done with Southwest, I'm done with United, I'm done with everybody who flies Boeing planes because I just don't trust that company. And hopefully nothing happens like that. But they now they're on the top of consumers' minds, and this was not even something that people were talking about years ago. Before that first crash in October of 2018 on Lion Air, no one was talking about this. But two crashes and the panel blowing out in midair, that has people concerned. Nobody wants to have that happen to them, obviously. Like, even if it's 1 in a million, you'd rather fly somebody else. So it's on consumers' minds. They cannot have anything else. But as an investor, I think you're right. This is rearview mirror now, and hopefully nothing else happens. They can just focus on making money. And I'd love to know the details of the contract, supplying to the government and all that. But no, you're absolutely right there. I think that when it comes to investors, it's just all about putting this in the rearview mirror and saying, all right, let's go make some money. Let's put this all behind us. Let's build safe planes and just make some money and keep it simple.
Yeah, I think this starts at the top, leadership. And Calhoun, the CEO, is already stepping down at the end of the year. I think that's probably forced at this point. But your chart that you have, the interest over time, is Boeing safe. I know you said that you guys don't cover it. But, this is going to take time. The Spirit Aerosystems buyout, $4.7 billion, should help maybe shore up some of the manufacturing issues at this point, Landon. But when you look at this, the government wants Boeing to do well. The country should want Boeing to do well. So if they get all this stuff fixed, get a new CEO in there, is that, it's a duopoly. I mean, the plane demand, the backlog they have is just monstrous, right? So does that bode well for investors moving forward, according to your data?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think you hit it there with duopoly. I mean, this is kind of too big to fail, right? I mean, if they go out, then the entire industry's changed. So we as a country, as an industry, all of it, they cannot have Boeing go out of business. They cannot have Boeing struggle that much. So I think that they probably knew that, and they played a little fast and loose with some safety and regulations. You dial it in here and you move forward. But I think the problem is in that is a duopoly, and it's what are the choices for the consumer? What are the choices for the industry? Consumers also being airlines, like who can they buy from besides Boeing? So it's, you just got two companies, and if Boeing goes out, prices are going to go up, of course. Then you got a monopoly. It's all kinds of stuff we're talking then. But yeah, I think that the government has a vested interest in making sure that Boeing survives and does well, and investors know that. And that I think that, again, rearview mirror, the fine's not too bad. We got a new guy. You can blame the outgoing CEO if you want, or blame the one before him. Mm-hmm. It's always nice to be able to put some blame on someone who's out the door, and then just move forward. So, as an investor, maybe down the road, if there's nothing going wrong, you can, I could justify buying this. I won't, but it's not my type of company, and I don't like what they've done in the past. So it just seems like a risk to me. But I think the real play here is what happens to these airlines that are dependent on them. How do consumers get over that? And is this a real concern a year from now? If nothing happens, I think it goes away, and people are flying on United and Southwest like it never happened. But if there's anything else, especially after all of this happens and they've pledged to make all these changes, if there's another problem, I think consumers may write off these airlines that are using Boeing planes.
Yeah, that's going to be, I think, the concern moving forward, at least in the near term. Anything negative that you see come out on a Boeing plane will be detrimental. All right, great stuff. Great data as always, Landon. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that's Landon Swan, co-founder at Like Folio. Kev, it's been a choppy